7 spiritual signs that you are about to change your fortune and are sure to prosper. Hello everyone. Welcome to Mind Podcast Buddhism. In life, there are people who seem to have everything go smoothly. The moment they step out the door, they meet good fortune, and whatever they do, someone lends a hand. Disaster draws near and then passes by. Suffering has not yet arrived, and a benefactor already appears to help. Outsiders call it luck, but those who understand the way know it is blessing. There are 2 great kinds of blessing in life: the blessing one creates by one's own actions, and the blessing handed down by ancestors. Many people live kindly practice and help others. They create a peaceful path for themselves. But there are also not a few who, though they have not practiced much or undertaken anything great, still enjoy a calm life, not too turbulent, even becoming prosperous and starting a career smoothly. That is when ancestral blessing is quietly protecting and supporting them. Ancestral blessing is a wholesome energy transmitted through the bloodline from generation to generation. It does not appear with a visible form, yet it clearly influences the destiny of descendants. A grandmother who recited sutras each morning, a grandfather who saved people in times of war, a father who quietly helped those in hardship. Such deeds create an invisible push for later generations. Not everyone is born with ancestral blessing to lift them up, and those who have it do not keep it forever. Some enjoy it and then lose it. Others know how to preserve it and continue it, and their lives grow more and more flourishing. What matters is recognizing when ancestral blessing is about to flow toward you and living in a way worthy of it. This article points out 7 clear signs. If you have some of them, it is very likely that the blessings of your ancestors are drawing near and your path of wealth, prosperity, and good fortune is about to open. More important than wealth, this is a chance to practice, to live rightly, and to continue the light of those who came before. Sign 1. What seems completely stuck is suddenly untied with ease. There are times in life when everything seems to hit bottom. Work stalls, money runs out, relationships are tangled, illness surrounds you, and it feels as if there is no way back, as if fate is testing you to the limit. Yet right then something changes. An opportunity appears as if from the sky. Someone calls at the right moment with good news or the right advice. A door opens ahead when all the others seemed closed. The change is not noisy but unmistakable, like water beginning to flow again after a long blockage, like a faint light at the end of a tunnel. This is not a miracle in the dramatic sense, nor mere coincidence. It is ancestral blessing beginning to bloom. The wholesome deeds and prayers of parents and grandparents in years past, even many generations ago, are answering in your present life. Blessing does not have to take an immediate material shape. It is not winning the lottery overnight, but rather the untangling, the opening, the easier breath in a stifling time. As the knots loosen, the mind also becomes light, and in that lightness you begin to have the clarity to see your direction. This sign is also a reminder. Do not rejoice so much that you slacken your practice, and do not become proud of your own ability. What you are receiving may not come entirely from you, but from someone in your lineage who lived very virtuously, who prayed for descendants, who sowed seeds of blessing in the world. If you feel things turning gently for the better, even though you have not done anything very different, pause and silently put your hands together in gratitude. Perhaps someone in the unseen is smiling because the blessing they created is now flowering in your life. Sign 2. A stranger helps you at the right time and in the right way. Not everyone who helps us is someone we know, and not every stranger is indifferent. In life, at the hardest and most blocked moments, it can be someone not close to us, even someone we have never met, who reaches out a hand. They owe us nothing and do not seek repayment. They simply arrive at the right time, like a hidden link in the chain of cause and effect at work. When the person who helps you does not act for gain, does not calculate, does not look for a return, and the help arrives exactly when you need it most, that is not just luck. It is ancestral blessing, operating through present conditions, sending the right person to carry you past a difficult stretch. Buddhism says, causes and conditions are like an illusion. Karmic results are like a shadow. Causes and conditions may look random, but they arise from wholesome karma, either created by you or planted by your kin long ago. Ancestral blessing does not show itself as a spirit or a strange aura. Sometimes it is embodied in a living person who appears in the world, ready to help for no particular reason. Notice this. Has someone helped you around a dangerous bend? Has anyone pointed you to the right path when you were lost in choices? Has someone unexpectedly opened a new opportunity for you without asking anything in return? That person could be a former colleague, a new acquaintance, or a passerby who briefly entered your life. The deeper question is why you met them, why they appeared exactly when you needed them, why they did not appear for someone else. It may be because you are receiving the merit passed down by your ancestors, who once helped others unconditionally, so your life now meets helping hands given without condition. Blessing does not always blossom where it was planted. Sometimes it flowers in later generations when the right conditions come together. If you feel fortunate to have been helped, that is also the time to continue that goodness. Guard the blessing by not relying on it lazily. Nurture the blessing by becoming the person who helps others at the right time and in the right way, just as someone once helped you. That is how ancestral blessing does not stop with your life, but passes on to your children and grandchildren. Sign 3. Your temperament changes, becoming gentler and more forgiving for no clear reason. Some changes do not begin with external circumstances, but arise from within. One day you suddenly realize you are no longer as hot-tempered as before, no longer reacting harshly to others, no longer eager to win, argue, or compete for anything. Everything seems to grow lighter in your heart. You find it easier to forgive, easier to let go, and easier to feel compassion, and even you do not know why. If this transformation does not come from deliberate practice, it is very likely a sign that blessings are sprouting, especially ancestral blessings quietly guiding you from within. Blessing is not only wealth, material gain, or outer success. The greatest blessing is inner tranquility, the natural goodness that arises without reminders or force. When the mind grows kind, the heart softens. This is not weakness, but a sign that a new inner strength has been awakened, the power of merit blossoming from within your own bloodstream. Many people think character is not easy to change. Yet when great blessing begins to speak, it does not need arguments or admonitions. It transforms silently. You no longer take joy in speaking ill of others or in laughing at their pain. Your heart starts to grow tender when you witness someone suffering. You may even lose the urge to debate matters you once felt you had to win. That is when your mind is being irrigated by the stream of wholesome blessing. This change usually does not happen by chance. Generations before you, someone in your bloodline practiced, prayed, chanted mantras and sutras, and dedicated merit to their descendants. They are no longer alive, but the good they did has not vanished. It remains in the bloodline, in the spirit of life itself. If you are the one being awakened, it may well be that you are the child or grandchild, chosen to continue that merit, not only to receive it, but to spread and expand it for the whole lineage. A turning of temperament is a very clear sign that negative karma is thinning and blessings are budding. When you no longer wish to hurt anyone, when your heart softens before all things, when you stop craving to contend and seize, that is when ancestral blessing is lifting you from within your own mind. Sign 4. Dreaming of grandparents or receiving a strange dream before life shifts direction. In this visible world, there are things reason cannot explain. Strange dreams, images that surface in the night, faint calls, as if from afar, are sometimes more than dreams. They may be messages from deeper spiritual realms, where ancestors still watch over the steps of their descendants. Many people recount that before a great change in life, such as changing jobs, moving home, marriage, or escaping danger, they dreamed of departed loved ones. Some dreamt of grandparents or parents returning to offer counsel. Some saw light people in grey robes, images of temples, the sound of bells and wooden fish. Some dreamt they were lost and then guided. They woke not knowing why, yet their hearts felt lighter as if something had just been opened. Such dreams should not be taken lightly. They are early signs of a connection between the present consciousness and the stream of generational blessing. When ancestral blessing is strong enough, it can open an intermediate door to send signals to descendants, not to frighten or to perform miracles, but to remind, warn, support, and awaken. Scriptures speak of Brahma gods, or devas, who protect practitioners. In Vietnamese Buddhist folk, belief the kind spirits of ancestors who practiced can become a quiet, protective force for their descendants. They do not appear daily or intervene crudely, but at turning points they may send a dream or plant an idea in deep sleep. If you have experienced this dreaming of departed loved ones who teach, advise, or simply stand and smile at you, understand that ancestral blessing is beginning to transmit strength to you. Listen to the dream. Do not dismiss small details. Contemplate your mind and see what in your life is calling for change. If the dream appears right before positive shifts, such as smooth work, a peaceful home, or opening fortune, know that you are not walking alone. In the unseen, your grandparents and ancestors may be standing behind you with hands joined in prayer, as they once did before the Buddha, praying that future generations live kindly and righteously, be loved by people, and be welcomed by people. Life. Ancestral blessing may arrive through words, actions, and opportunities, but sometimes it comes as a light dream, in a fleeting moment between sleeps. If you are clear enough to recognize it, you will know your life is about to turn a new page. Sign 5. In the midst of suffering, the mind no longer complains. In the hardest phases of life, people usually respond with resentment, anger, or despair. When losing a job, money, loved ones, or being betrayed, most will blame heaven, people, or fate. Yet there are those who, even in difficult situations, do not blame anyone, do not resent, do not grow angry, do not think ill of others. They remain silent, patient, and continue on. This is a major sign of inner shift, and in many cases a sign that ancestral blessing is quietly shielding you, making your heart steady in a remarkable way, unmoved, even when life tilts. When your mind no longer reacts violently to adversity, no longer acts on impulse, no longer wants to retaliate, no longer sits blaming fate, but only tells itself there must be a reason endure. A little more, that is when blessing has begun to abide in the heart rather than waiting for wealth to arrive to be called blessing. Blessing is not only outer possessions but also the inner capacity to pass through storms without losing yourself. When ancestors have practiced correctly and prayed with full sincerity, that merit can gather into a field of peace that protects descendants from collapsing in adversity. Calmness in suffering is not apathy, but the understanding that this is karma being repaid and fruit ripening. If it cannot be avoided, pass through it gently. Those who can hold such a mind have usually been watered by a stream of wholesome karma from earlier generations. When the mind is at peace, the path grows brighter, good conditions draw near, and opportunities begin to open at the right time and place. Many people do not recognize this. They think they are just tough or used to hardship. But if you are in suffering and no longer feel hatred, you should smile, for karma is thinning and blessing is budding. This is a very clear sign that the mind has prepared the ground to welcome better things. If your life is not going smoothly, but your heart is no longer in turmoil, do not think yourself weak. Believe that you are being protected not by swords or miracles, but by the inner serenity that is more precious than any wealth. Sign 6. Small streams of fortune begin to arrive gently and steadily. Not all wealth appears in a single day. Some blessings do not burst forth like a great waterfall, but fall like a fine drizzle, gentle, quiet, steady, yet enough for a mindful person to recognize that fate is turning and blessings are returning. Suddenly, others give you gifts, offer you money, or lend to you without interest. Unexpected sums appear. An old debt you thought lost is repaid. A small, unforeseen bonus arrives. A modest contract brings in income you hadn't planned on. Not huge, not life-changing, but small and regular, little yet timely. All of it suggests that fortune is beginning to flow toward you from the tiniest streams. This sign matters. because it often comes before greater good things appear. This is how ancestral blessing usually unfolds gradually, from inside out, from small to large, so that descendants are not overwhelmed, do not grow arrogant, and do not squander what they receive. Fortune that comes from ancestral blessing is rarely noisy or dazzling. It is steady and durable, and it does not drag heavy karma behind it, provided the recipient knows how to safeguard it. Watch carefully if you no longer find yourself flat broke, but always have a small cushion to get by. If what you need seems to arrive right on time without long deprivation, if you begin to build savings, however little, without losing it again, that is a sign the current of blessed resources is reopening after a period of blockage. This often happens to people whose ancestors practiced material generosity, almsgiving, making offerings, feeding the poor, performing meritorious works, building temples, aiding disaster relief, helping those in hardship. Such actions generate a wholesome treasury of merit that is handed down to descendants. When that blessing ripens, it does not fall like a violent storm, but warms like early spring sunlight a little more each day. If you notice this in your life, cherish it. Do not spend recklessly, and do not stir up craving for sudden great wealth, for greed makes blessing burn out quickly. Live by right principles, spend lawfully, and share where it truly helps. Then that stream of fortune will grow more stable. When you live rightly, keep a kind heart, and refuse to chase money at any cost. What you receive is not only money, but peace of mind, no fear, no scrambling, and that is the truest blessing. Sign 7. You suddenly feel moved to practice, do good. Recite sutras or chant the Buddha's name without anyone reminding you. There are times when, without invitation or pressure, you feel an inner urge to do good, suddenly wanting to recite the Buddha's name, to bow before the Buddha each morning, to open the sutras and read, to visit a temple, to repent and dedicate merit. The mind turns less outward and begins to turn inward gently, naturally, without forcing. This is one of the clearest signs that bad karma is thinning and blessings are blossoming, especially blessings from ancestors who practiced, did good, and vowed to protect their descendants so they might meet the dharma and return to themselves. This spontaneous wish to practice is not random. In this life, simply turning the heart toward the 3 jewels is already difficult. To keep that heart steady for the long term without boredom or giving up requires deep, wholesome roots and abundant blessing. If you once lived far from the dharma, absorbed in fame, profit, and gossip, and now find yourself quietly reciting a sutra or settling the heart to chant the sacred name that is not ordinary, it is a sign of shifting karma, opening mind, and blossoming blessing. Ancestral blessing does not show itself only as food and clothing. Greater still is the awakening of the inner life. Perhaps someone in your lineage once vowed that future descendants would meet the light of the Buddha's teaching, turn from harm to good, and come back to the right path. When such prayers gather enough strength, they pour down so that a receptive descendant senses them and naturally turns back. If you are in such a phase, suddenly wanting to live more uprightly, to visit temples, to eat vegetarian meals, to loosen anger and envy, to learn compassion, understand that you are receiving the finest part of your spiritual inheritance. No one can manufacture your inspiration to practice. Only blessing, when strong enough, makes the heart light, firm, and naturally inclined to goodness. At such times, you no longer chase outside, but turn within to train the mind, keep the precepts and practice. Without supervision or encouragement, you still feel happy, doing good, peaceful, chanting the Buddha's name and reciting sutras. If you can keep your heart like this, the door of great blessing will open, not only for this life, but for those to come. For one who truly practices will preserve blessing when it arrives. One who only enjoys without cultivating will see blessings slip away like water through the fingers. These 7 signs are not promises of a life forever smooth, nor strange omens to foster superstition. They are honest signals that you may be receiving ancestral blessing. What matters is not how much you enjoy, but whether you know how to preserve it. Ancestral blessing is like a gentle, wholesome wind that passes quietly through a life. It is not as loud as trumpets of victory, not as dazzling as festival fireworks, but if you are quiet enough, you will feel an invisible support, lifting each step you take, guiding each decision you make, each opportunity you grasp, and each time you nearly fall yet rise without being ruined. Those who live kindly will continue the blessing. Those who guard a good heart will make the blessing endure. Those who practice will turn blessing into the power that opens wisdom, compassion, and a long, clear path for later generations. But if one only indulges in enjoyment without replenishing, rejoices in receiving, without gratitude and craves wealth, without cultivation, that blessing will vanish quickly like morning dew under harsh sun, like spring buds that fall before they can bear fruit. If you notice gentle, positive shifts in your life, your heart softening matters, growing smoother, small fortunes arriving regularly, and the urge to practice arising, do not take them lightly. Join your palms and quietly thank your ancestors. Offer a stick of incense, recite a sutra chant, the Buddha's name, and live honestly. That is how to give thanks, to preserve blessing, and to open the way for new blessings to bloom. Ancestral blessing is real, but whether you keep it depends on your heart and conduct today. There are things in life you cannot touch or clearly name, yet those who are calm enough can sense their very real presence. Like an underground aquifer, unseen and unheard, yet the greenness or withering of grass depends on it. So it is with ancestral blessing. No one can weigh it out or grasp it in hand, but a person's life, lucky or troubled, bright or dim, is influenced to some degree by that hidden current. Some people seem born carrying a certain light. They are not showy or boastful, yet they are loved. They move through the world lightly like a bird in the open sky. In hardship there is help. When they stray there is guidance. And each time they fall there is a chance to rise without losing everything. If you pay attention, you will see they rarely have a remarkable background, nor does their good fortune come from randomness. They are descendants of people who lived virtuously, sowed goodness, and safeguarded their family's store of merit. Ancestral blessing is not a hazy superstition, nor an excuse for those who live carelessly to expect benefits. It is a truth distilled by earlier generations. Old folk sayings and teachings were not merely moral admonitions, but life lessons forged from blood, tears, and the awakening of those who came before. A household that does good for 3 generations will surely have blessings for those born later. A lineage whose ancestors accumulated virtue will naturally see its offspring thrive. These are not empty phrases, but truths verified by cause and effect across 3 generations. Not every family leaves material assets, but any family with people who live kindly, honor their elders, and cultivate themselves can leave something more precious than gold, which is merit. No one can seize such an inheritance. It soaks into the blood, spreads through the breath, shines in the eyes, and resounds in the character of the descendants. That current of blessing is quiet, like an underground stream, seemingly silent, yet on a day of favorable wind and rain, it will rise as a clear well that refreshes the lives of the heirs without announcement. Sometimes you are the one drinking from that stream, and sometimes you are the one keeping it flowing in silence, not for fame, so that one day when you have left this world, the water remains warm, wholesome, and clear, and the grandchildren of later generations, though they have never met you, still walk in the light you quietly nurtured. Blessing is a pure kind of energy, born of virtuous actions, truthful speech, and gentle thoughts. It has no form, cannot be grasped like money, and leaves no paperwork like property. Yet once present, it diffuses like the scent of lotus over a deep pond, like early morning sunlight threading through thick clouds, making hearts naturally feel warmer, lighter, and more at peace, even when no one names it. Ancestral blessing is the portion of blessing accumulated over many generations by those who came before. It may be grandparents who lived frugally, patiently, and compassionately, teaching their descendants by bright example, who did not kill, did not cheat, and did not envy or harm others. It may be a gentle father whose cracked hands prepared simple meals to raise his children without letting them live in resentment, or a mother who quietly recited sutras each night, every prayer offered wholly for the peace of her loved. Honest, Such quiet deeds done with mindfulness and a pure heart generate blessing. When not exhausted within a single lifetime, the blessing does not disappear. It flows silently to later generations, like an unwrapped gift that always arrives on time. Ancestral blessing is real, not because we want to believe it, but because it appears so often in life that we cannot deny it. Some people are not highly educated and possess little wealth. Yet, whatever they do, benefactors help them. Some, without excessive effort, still encounter good things as if arranged by an unseen hand. Some children are born bright and kind, disinclined to harm, naturally compassionate and moderate. That is not random, but a sign of blessing revealing itself. Trace it back, and you will find someone in their family who accumulated deep virtue. The ancients said blessing arises from the mind and is made by deeds. If the mind is compassionate, deeds are truthful, and one lives without causing suffering, blessing will come as a shadow follows the body. When such blessing is not fully spent in one lifetime, its resonance remains for relatives and descendants. Some things are plain to see a lineage, with many who live long suffer little illness. Avoid entanglement with the law whose children are upright, understand right and wrong and do not fight. This is a lineage that still has blessing. By contrast, a lineage whose descendants are repeatedly beset by calamity, illness, conflict, filial impiety, deceit, and divisions over money clearly shows that its blessing has thinned. Ancestral blessing is not something occult, and it is not a way to evade personal responsibility. It is a very real part of the multi-generational stream of karma. If cause and effect is reincarnation in the dimension of the individual, then ancestral blessing is the vertical reincarnation of a bloodline, where wholesome deeds, if preserved, continue to blossom in the lives of descendants without fanfare. What matters is that ancestral blessing does not arise by itself. It must be sown by good deeds, nourished by virtue, and lived through a filial heart. No one who goes against moral principles leaves blessing to their heirs. No one who lives harmfully can give their descendants long-lasting peace. Cause and effect are very fair, and ancestral blessing is the deepest and quietest fairness. The universe grants to lineages that live in accord with the way of heaven and of humanity. No one bestows ancestral blessing by official document, and no will states exactly how much blessing future generations will inherit from the departed. But if you live quietly enough and look deeply into the workings of life, you will recognize things truly wondrous, unseen yet powerfully transformative. One of these is the quiet transmission of ancestral blessing. Ancestral blessing is not distributed equally to all, nor does everyone born into a lineage receive it in the same measure. It is like the light of a lamp. It does not illuminate every corner, but favors the places that are clean, where calm is preserved, where people respect elders, and yield to juniors, live kindly and sincerely. That blessing is like a waft of incense. It does not seek out defiled places, but spreads to where a solemn atmosphere and gratitude remain. There are 3 channels through which ancestral blessing commonly descends to descendants. Each is a branch of the magnetic field of wholesome karma. When we understand this, we see that cultivating body and mind and preserving ethics are not only for ourselves, they are how we extend our arms to receive that invisible inheritance. The first channel is the bloodline. Blood carries not only genetic inheritance, but also the life energy of the ancestors. A grandfather who lived with compassion, patience, and without wrongdoing usually leaves wholesome, vital energy in his descendants. A child born to a considerate father and a gentle mother often has a mild disposition, reflects before acting, and is less hot-tempered. Even without advanced schooling, such a child's nature radiates goodness that wins others' affection. The second channel is spiritual. Some things appear accidental, but are actually unseen protection. Someone about to meet with an accident suddenly turns back a few seconds before it occurs. Someone gravely ill, seemingly beyond recovery, suddenly improves after dreaming of a departed relative. Someone at a dead end suddenly meets a benefactor who reaches out a hand. If these do not arise from what the ancestors left behind, How else can they be explained? Those whose ancestors practiced recited sutras and the Buddha's name and upheld precepts to keep the mind pure are often protected in a profound way, unseen yet steady. Such people, when entering life, may stumble but do not break, may stray but eventually turn back, may walk in the night, yet at times find a light. The third path is the resonance of wholesome karma. When ancestral merit has not been exhausted, it becomes a shared reservoir. Anyone in the lineage who is filial, who cultivates themselves, who does good, is like someone holding a clean cup, drawing water from a clear. Well, the cleaner the cup, the more water it can hold. The more sincere and virtuous a person is, the more easily that blessing flows to them, seeping into every part of their life. In particular, ancestral blessing is transmitted not only through blood but through sincerity. There are adopted children and daughters-in-law who do not carry the family's blood yet keep filial devotion, live righteously, burn incense for the ancestors day after day, seeking no fame, wishing only for the family's peace. Such people also receive the blessing, for blessing does not distinguish by blood, it goes where the way is kept. This is why in many families a biological child who is unfilial and does wrong ends up meeting heavy karmic retribution, while a virtuous daughter-in-law enjoys abundant blessing with wise children and a flourishing household. Ancestral blessing does not arrive by ego or titles. It follows only the heart and conduct. Those who know how to preserve blessing, living by the true human way, and keeping themselves within the bounds of virtue, will naturally inherit ancestral blessing in a steady way. Conversely, those who live against the way, whose minds are stained by unwholesome paths, who speak brashly and act cruelly, no matter how deep the ancestors' merit are, like water poured into a cracked vessel, soon nothing remains. Ancestral blessing is not a special favor, but an opportunity for descendants to be grateful and to live worthily. It indulges no one. It quietly watches and chooses its dwelling where there is filial piety, righteousness, sincerity, and the way. Look deeply at how descendants live, how family members treat each other, how events come and go in their lives, and you can tell whether that current of blessing is still flowing or has run dry. A family that has preserved ancestral blessing usually has a gentle, warm atmosphere. Though personalities differ, members still yield to and care for one another. Their speech retains courtesy, even if the children are not yet highly accomplished. They live by right principles, inclined toward goodness, and do not violate cause and effect. When hardship comes, someone steps forward to shoulder it and guide the family through. The household is not plagued by constant quarrels, resentment, or gossip. These are clear signs that the current of blessing remains still sheltering the family. Those in a family with ancestral blessing often meet quiet forms of good fortune. Whatever they do, helpers appear. When danger looms, a benefactor lends a hand. Though poor, the descendants do not fall into destitution. Though there is illness, it does not linger endlessly. Their hearts retain faith in what is good. Their dreams often feature departed loved ones who appear with gentle messages, not frightening. It feels like an invisible cloaklight as morning mist wrapping the entire lineage and steadying each step in a turbulent world. By contrast, when a lineage has begun to lose its blessing, there are subtle yet unmistakable signs. Descendants are frequently at odds, speak harshly to their parents, and no longer show respect to elders. There is always someone in the house sick for obscure reasons, seeking cures everywhere without success. The family struggles, businesses fail, lawsuits arise, property is lost, land is lost, loved ones are lost. It is as if a dark vapor clings to the clan, weighing hearts down, draining resolve, making tempers quick and actions rash. A lineage has run out of blessing when no one speaks of the ancestors anymore, when the family altar is neglected, when incense runs cold, when death anniversaries become noisy drinking parties, when no one bows with a grateful heart, when the ancestors are remembered not with reverence but as mere names in a ledger. That is when the current of blessing begins to dissipate. There are lineages that were once very prosperous, grand houses, high officials, wealth beyond counting. Yet after only a generation or two, the descendants scatter, fighting and severing ties for the sake of gain. The problem is not that there was too little wealth, but that the blessing was gone. Without blessing, even great riches cannot keep happiness. A large family cannot keep harmony. Clever children cannot keep decency. When blessing is absent, everything is fleeting. There are also lineages that have never been rich or renowned, yet family members live with love and filial piety. Do no harm, keep incense burning, for the ancestors recite the Buddha's name, and pray for the family's peace. Then the later generations naturally live safely and step by step achieve enough, not dazzling but sufficient, to pass through this life in serenity. Such a lineage still has roots and foundation. The quiet light of ancestral blessing continues to shine. So if you want to know whether your household still has blessing, look at how you live today. Whether you still feel gratitude or only demand. Whether you are still filial or treat your parents as burdens. Whether you still keep precepts and avoid harm, or live carelessly indifferent to consequences. Whether you still observe rites, light incense each day, recite even a short sutra chant, a single sacred name, or have let the home grow cold for lack of the warmth of gratitude. Ancestral blessing is not a miracle granted to the chosen. It comes only to those who still keep the way, keep the heart, and keep filial piety. As long as we can recognize these signs, we still have the chance to dedicate merit, to continue to renew the sacred current our ancestors labored to build. No matter how wholesome blessing will not endure, if it is not preserved like an oil lamp passed from generation to generation, if the holder does not add oil and shield it from wind, the flame will go out. So it is with ancestral blessing. It is not an indestructible privilege, but a delicate inheritance that must be safeguarded by ethics, filial devotion, wakefulness, and true sincerity. Ancestral blessing can be lost, and countless families bear witness to this. Some lineages once flourished, grand homes, children excelling in study reputations far and wide. Yet within a generation or two, the estate evaporates and kinship is severed. The living become ungrateful, and the dead receive no incense. That is when ancestral blessing has departed, not because someone took it, but because those within the lineage failed to keep what should be kept. Blessing departs when hearts grow cold, when descendants live against the way, when speech loses courtesy and actions lose restraint, when mouths curse fathers and belittle mothers, when people live without filial piety or righteousness, when worship of ancestors is mere form without heart, when death anniversaries are only occasions for drinking quarrels and display, when the altar is cold, incense smoke has faded, and no one bows with gratitude, when the ancestors are remembered not with respect but as names on a page, that is when the current of blessing begins to dissolve. The third path is the resonance of wholesome karma. When ancestral merit has not been used up, it becomes a common reservoir. Anyone in the lineage who is filial, who cultivates themselves, and who does good, is like a person holding a clean cup to draw water from a clear well. The cleaner the cup, the more water it can hold. The more sincere and inclined toward goodness a person is, the more easily that blessing flows to them, into them, and soaks into every part of their life. In particular, ancestral blessing is transmitted not only through blood but also through sincerity. There are adopted children and daughters-in-law who do not share the lineage by blood yet, who keep filial devotion, live righteously, burn incense and bow to the ancestors day after day, seeking no fame and wishing only for the family's peace. Such people also receive the blessing, for blessing does not discriminate by blood but goes wherever the way is kept. This is why in many families a biological child who is unfilial and does wrong ultimately meets heavy karmic retribution, while a virtuous daughter-in-law enjoys abundant blessing with wise children and a flourishing household. Ancestral blessing does not follow ego or titles. It follows only the heart and conduct. Those who know how to preserve blessing by living according to the true human way and keeping themselves within the bounds of virtue will naturally inherit ancestral blessing in a steady manner. Conversely, those who live against the way, whose minds are stained by unwholesome paths, who speak rudely and act cruelly, even if their ancestors left deep merit, are like water poured into a cracked vessel, and soon nothing remains. Ancestral blessing is not a special privilege, but an opportunity for descendants to be grateful and to live worthily. It indulges no one. It quietly observes and chooses its dwelling where there is filial piety, righteousness, sincerity, and the way. By looking deeply at how descendants live, how family members treat one another, and how events come and go in their lives, one can recognize whether that current of blessing is still flowing or has already run dry. A family that still preserves ancestral blessing usually has a gentle and warm atmosphere. Although personalities differ, members know how to yield and love one another, and their speech retains courtesy. Even if the children are not yet greatly accomplished, they live by right principles, incline toward goodness, and do not act against cause and effect. When hardship comes, someone steps forward to shoulder it and guide the rest through. The household is not constantly shaken by quarrels, resentment, or gossip. These are clear signs that the current of blessing remains and still shelters the family. Those in a family with ancestral blessing often meet quiet forms of good fortune. Helpers appear in their work, and when danger looms, a benefactor lends a hand. Though poor, the descendants do not fall into destitution. Though there is illness, it does not drag on endlessly. Their hearts retain faith in what is good. Dreams in the household often feature departed loved ones who return with gentle messages that do not frighten. The feeling is like an invisible cloak light, as morning mist wrapping the entire lineage and steadying each step in a turbulent world. By contrast, when a lineage has begun to lose its blessing, there are subtle yet unmistakable signs. Descendants are frequently at odds, speak harshly to their parents, and no longer show respect to elders. Someone in the home is always ill for obscure reasons and cannot be cured despite many attempts. The family struggles, businesses fail, lawsuits arise, property is lost, land is lost, and loved ones are lost. It is as if a dark vapor clings to the clan, weighing hearts down, draining resolve, quickening tempers, and prompting rash actions. A lineage has run out of blessing when no one speaks of the ancestors anymore. When the family altar is neglected, incense grows cold, death anniversaries become noisy drinking parties, and no one bows with a grateful heart. When the ancestors are remembered not with reverence but as mere names in a ledger, the current of blessing begins to dissipate. Some lineages were once very prosperous with grand houses, high officials, and wealth beyond counting, yet after only 1 or 2 generations, the descendants scatter, fighting and severing ties for the sake of gain. This is not because there was too little wealth, but because the blessing was gone. Without blessing, even great riches cannot keep happiness, a large family cannot keep harmony, and clever children cannot keep decency. Where there is no blessing, everything is fleeting. There are also lineages that have never been rich or renowned yet, whose members live with love and filial piety. Do no harm, keep incense burning, for the ancestors recite the Buddha's name and pray for the family's peace. Then later generations naturally live safely and step by step achieve enough, not dazzling but sufficient, to pass through this life in serenity. Such a lineage still has roots and foundation. The quiet light of ancestral blessing continues to shine. If you wish to know whether your household still has blessing, look at how you live today. Do you still feel gratitude, or do you only demand? Are you still filial, or do you treat your parents as burdens? Do you still keep precepts and avoid harm, or do you live carelessly indifferent to consequences? Do you still keep the rites? Light incense each day, recite even a short sutra chant, a single sacred name, or have you let the home grow cold for lack of the warmth of gratitude? Ancestral blessing is not a miracle reserved for someone special. It comes only to those who still keep the way, keep the heart, and keep filial piety. So long as we can recognize these signs, we still have the chance to dedicate merit, to continue and to renew the sacred current that our ancestors labored to build. No matter how wholesome blessing will not endure if it is not preserved like an oil lamp passed from generation to generation. If the holder does not add oil and shield it from the wind, the flame will go out. So it is with ancestral blessing. It is not an indestructible privilege, but a delicate inheritance that must be safeguarded by ethics, filial devotion, wakefulness, and true sincerity. Ancestral blessing can be lost, and countless families bear witness to this. Some lineages once flourished with grand homes, children excelling in study and reputations far and wide, yet within a generation or two the estate evaporates, and kinship is severed. When the living become ungrateful and the dead receive no incense, ancestral blessing has departed. It is not because someone took it away, but because those within the lineage failed to keep what should have been kept. Blessing departs when hearts grow cold, when descendants live against the way, when speech loses courtesy and actions lose restraint, when mouths curse fathers and belittle mothers, when people live without filial piety or righteousness, when the ancestor worship is only a formality without heart, when death anniversaries become occasions for drinking quarrels and display, when the altar grows cold and the incense fades, when no one bows with gratitude, and when the ancestors are remembered not with respect but as names on a page. That is when the current of blessing begins to dissolve. Conversely, when the ancestors have attained liberation, the descendants naturally find it easier to live in harmony, conduct business with good fortune, keep a clear mind, and maintain a stable household. What is called the flourishing of descendants does not come only from academic success or growing assets. It arises from the diffusion of merit, energy from character, being uplifted from hearts opening in peace and wisdom. This is the sign of a wholesome karmic stream, operating fully, no longer snagged by the knots of past ignorance. Ancestors' liberation means that the consciousness of the departed has left behind every binding resentment and delusion, has been led to a wholesome realm nearer to the light abiding in the way, no longer entangled, no longer attached, no longer lingering as a restless spirit in the home, the land, or the very breath of the descendants. Then their souls are no longer bound to the human world, no longer stirring up confused karmic resonances that burden later generations. On the contrary, they become a form of invisible guardianship, true hidden virtue, using the peace they have gained in the good realm to protect their children and grandchildren. When the ancestors are liberated, those who once suffered pain, poverty, grievances, and hardship in their lives have found a way out and entered a place of lightness and clarity. From there, they are no longer attached to their descendants, but pour down only wholesome love, like a cool drop of dew, upon the strenuous paths of the living. When ancestral souls are still in suffering, the descendants often feel inner unrest. Many sleep fitfully, have nightmares, and feel mentally unsettled. The household is beset by petty troubles that never quite resolve. Many think it is random, bad luck, but in truth, it is the lineage's karmic force calling for resolution. In not a few families, there are repeated early deaths, recurring illnesses, and failing enterprises. Yet when people cultivate with utmost sincerity, offering food to wandering spirits, reciting sutras to transfer merit and aid, the ancestors' liberation things naturally begin to settle. The deeds need not be grand, but they must be sincere, mindful, and dedicated in transfer of merit. Then the wondrous occurs like a cool breeze after a long oppressive heat. It is like a house built from its foundation. The ancestors are the foundation. The descendants are the upper stories. If the foundation is uncertain, the house will lean. Once the foundation is repaired, the whole house stands firm. Even in storms, it does not fall. That is the condition in which, when the ancestors are liberated, the descendants truly have a stable footing in life. Anyone in the family who dedicates merit to the ancestors, recites the Kshitigarbha Sutra, invokes the Buddha's name, makes offerings to the three jewels, and performs good deeds to help others can resolve the lineage's karmic burdens. This is not superstition. It is the operating principle of spirituality within a continuous karmic stream. Whoever has blessing will receive it. And if the descendants are sincere ancestors who are stuck, may through that sincerity attain a good rebirth. When they are freed, the living too can lay down an invisible burden carried over many generations. There have been lineages mired for years in illness upon illness, repeated bankruptcies, slander disputes, and domestic strife. Yet, When a single child in the family studies and practices earnestly little by little, everything transforms. The ancients called this, "A healthy tree bears sweet fruit." One person who practices can bring peace to the whole household truly. So for a lamp lit within a clan marks the beginning of light spreading through every branch of the bloodline. Therefore, dear friend, if you live in a family full of adversity, if you sense something unsettled in the atmosphere of your home, do not rush to blame, fate, or sink into sorrow. Begin by helping your ancestors attain liberation. There is no need for a grand ritual. Simply each day, light a stick of incense and bow to the Buddha. With utmost sincerity, recite the Chittagarbha Sutra or the Lotus Sutra chant, the Buddha's name live wholesomely, and dedicate the merit to the spirits of your ancestors across many lives and generations. Do this quietly, sincerely, and with clarity. Then you will see the wind change, flowers bloom, and a light from the unseen return to shelter the path you walk in this life. There are things in life that seem invisible yet are profoundly real. Ancestral blessing is one of them. It cannot be weighed or measured, cannot be seen with the naked eye. But those who live with a quiet heart, and who at life's bends have felt an uncanny support, will understand that a sacred current from ages past is silently sustaining us. You may not know who your ancestors are. You may have no one left to call grandfather or grandmother. Yet if you still have sincerity, still remember where you come from, still bow once before the family altar, still feel gratitude and incline toward goodness, then you are already continuing that light. If ancestral blessing is not received with reverence, it fades like clouds dissolving. But if it is preserved with filial devotion, it grows like the deep roots of a great tree, nourishing a canopy strong enough to withstand life's storms. If you live in a household that is not yet at peace, do not hastily blame yourself for lacking blessing. Perhaps you are the one chosen to renew that current of merit. Begin with a wholesome intent. A sutra recited each morning, a prayer for your grandparents, a small change in your mind and conduct. With steadfastness refusing to be swept along by common vices, that alone is enough to set the ancestors at ease, to transform karma, and to let blessings blossom. And if you have ever felt ancestral blessing protecting you, then cherish it. Do not squander it through indulgence, anger, or ingratitude. Let your very life be an offering of thanks. Live well, live kindly, live usefully, live steadfastly. This is the most beautiful way to extend the road your grandparents quietly opened long ago. There is a beautiful old saying, a single spark of wholesome heart in a child can illuminate the entire dark sky of their ancestors. May you be that spark, bringing peace not only to yourself but to your whole lineage, beautifying not only the present life but also purifying the karmic stream of the future. And one day, when you become an ancestor to another branch of descendants, may that light continue bright as a torch in the long night, guiding those who follow. With joined palms, may all our ancestors through many generations attain liberation and dwell in joy within wholesome realms. May every family still shadowed by darkness soon have someone light a lamp of compassion and wisdom. May each breath we take today contribute gently like clouds to that current of blessing. Homage to Kshitigarbha Bodhisattva Mahasattva. Homage to the great filial Maudgalyayana Bodhisattva Mahasattva. Homage to all Buddhas of the 10 directions and the 3 times. Have you ever wondered why some families are always fortunate? Everything goes smoothly. Disasters pass by at the last moment, while others, no matter how hard they try, cannot escape misfortune with one calamity following another. Is it all just coincidence? Or is there an unseen force quietly protecting and sheltering the descendants? But hold on. Have you considered that you might be losing your blessings without realizing it? Your ancestors may be quietly protecting you, but if you fail to recognize it in time and do not know how to cherish it one day, that protection may no longer be there. The ancients believed that even after they pass away, ancestors continue to watch over their descendants and bestow blessings on those who keep filial piety, live virtuously, and accumulate merit for future generations. If you notice strange signs in your life events you cannot explain, be careful. They may be signals that your blessings are being depleted, or conversely, that your ancestors are still quietly supporting you. If you have had hair-raising near misses times when you seemed headed for disaster but miraculously escaped, if you often feel an invisible energy helping you in your hardest moments, if your life, though full of ups and downs, always has a support to lean on and a path that opens at the right time, listen closely, because you may be standing at a crossroads. Either you continue to be protected and enjoy long-lasting blessings, or you lose it all without even knowing. So how can you recognize the presence of your ancestors? What signs show that you are being guided from above and blessed for life? Listen carefully, because each sign I'm about to reveal is not mere coincidence but a message from your forebears, a way for you to understand the invisible protection you are receiving. And the more of these signs you have, the thicker, deeper, and more enduring your blessings are. But if you fail to notice them, if you let each sign pass without attention, you may unintentionally squander the blessings your ancestors accumulated for you over many generations. Do not overlook any sign. Each one is a crucial piece of the puzzle that helps you understand the protection being given to you. If you let these signs be forgotten, you may erase your own good fortune and only realize it when it's gone too late for anything but regret. Now I will reveal the signs one by one. Listen carefully, because each sign may be the key to preserving your blessings, understanding your ancestors' intent, and avoiding a loss you never saw coming. Sign 1. You struggled at first, but soon someone lifted you up, and your career advanced faster than others. Dear friend, pause for a moment and consider, have you gone through periods of severe hardship, situations that seemed impossible to turn around, only for things to suddenly improve? Did someone show up at the right time to support you and pull you out of a deadlock? If you've experienced this, listen closely. This is not ordinary luck. Some people work hard their whole lives, yet remain stuck, not because they lack ability or diligence, but because they lack blessings and ancestral protection. What about you? If you struggled but then someone appeared to help, if you failed but then encountered a life-changing opportunity, then you are not like them. Let me speak plainly. You may think the world is unfair. Some are born with a silver spoon, backed by wealthy parents, inherited fortunes and open doors, attaining everything without striving. But if you were not so lucky, if you had to fight your way up from nothing, and at some point someone lifted you, a bright path opened before you, do not rush to call it random. This is one of the clearest signs that your ancestors are quietly supporting you and opening the way. Why people say virtue accumulated over 3 generations brings blessings to later descendants. If a family's forebears lived kindly and amassed merit, the descendants will receive those blessings. They may face difficulties at first, but in the end they are guided onto the right path. Have you noticed this? When you were stuck and struggling, someone suddenly appeared to help. After failure, someone offered you a new opportunity, and another door opened. When you thought you had lost everything, someone reached out a hand and lifted you quickly back up. This is not random. These are signals from your ancestors, signs that you are being protected and never abandoned. But what if you don't appreciate it? If you fail to recognize it? If you dismiss it as mere luck and do not understand that it is ancestral blessing at work, you may lose it without realizing. Many people, when fortune smiles, think it is due to their own talent and brilliance. They do not realize that without the ancestors' quiet guidance, their path might have plunged into an abyss long ago. What should you do? Always be grateful and cherish the opportunities that come. When someone helps you, don't call it fate alone. Understand that ancestral blessings are being activated. Live virtuously. Stay humble. Do not abandon your ethics. If you act against cause and effect, these blessings can dissipate. Once out of hardship, keep doing good and helping others, because safeguarding merit is how you never lose your ancestors' protection. Remember, if you have this sign, treasure it, but do not grow complacent. Ancestral protection is not inexhaustible. If you do not continue to build merit and live virtuously, one day, this good fortune may vanish without warning. So beyond benefactors arriving, what other signs do ancestors send to warn and protect their descendants? Listen carefully, the next sign may give you chills. If you or your loved ones have faced troubles or recurring minor ailments, and simply by sincerely praying to your ancestors and to the Buddhas, you have been helped time and again, then congratulations. You are receiving a profound protection that not everyone enjoys. Sign 2. Whenever you face setbacks or minor illness, a sincere prayer to your ancestors and to the Buddhas brings aid. There are things in life the rational mind may wish to deny, yet reality keeps proving they exist. Some people confront crises that seem inescapable, but with a single heartfelt prayer and a stick of incense offered, matters suddenly turn smooth. There are families in turmoil with wayward children, yet after a single occasion of tidying the family altar, lighting incense, and paying respects, everything seems soothed and peace returns. Hear me, everything in life has causes and conditions and is shaped by karmic force. Nothing happens by accident. Think back. Has there been someone at home who kept suffering from minor ailments? Sometimes fatigue, sometimes headaches of unknown cause. Medicine brought only slight relief, and then it returned, yet when the heart sincerely turned toward the ancestors and a stick of incense was offered, the right medicine or a skilled doctor appeared, the illness eased and the body gradually recovered, and you yourself did not understand why. Has it ever happened that a small child suddenly cried through the night, crying endlessly and could not be soothed, as if something invisible made them uneasy? Yet once the parents lit incense and prayed for the ancestors' protection, after a time the child slept soundly and no longer woke in tears. Have you ever lost something important, searched everywhere without finding it, but after offering incense and asking the ancestors' help, you soon found it right before your eyes? Has your work ever been going smoothly, and then suddenly ran into snags? Nothing would go right. Yet after one sincere prayer, everything fell into place. If these things have happened to you, do not treat them as coincidences. Let me tell you a truth, a secret that not everyone is fortunate enough to know. People still say, if a home still has incense smoke, the descendants are still supported. If a home forgets the ancestors, fortune has no way back. When a family maintains its connection with its ancestors, remembers its roots, and keeps the altar, solemn blessings remain, the household stands firm and fortune stays favorable. But if a family drifts from its roots, the altar grows cold, incense burns out ash, gathers dust, then the bond with the ancestors slowly breaks, and misfortunes will come with no one to lift them. Some people never understand why misfortune follows misfortune throughout their lives. Yet the moment they return, kneel before the altar, bow to their ancestors, and ask for guidance, everything immediately begins to turn in a better direction. Have you ever wondered why some families, no matter how many ups and downs they endure, never collapse? Why some people, no matter how many times they fall, always find a way to stand up again? The answer is here. When a person is still protected by their ancestors, there is always an invisible hand pulling them out of danger, even when they do not know it. But remember this well. Many people, when work goes smoothly and money is plentiful, forget that what they enjoy is the merit their ancestors left behind. They chase after life, let the altar go cold, stop offering incense, and stop remembering. When illness comes, the family quarrels. Money drains away without reason. Work stalls, only then do they startle awake and realize it. But it is too late. Some people are doing well in business, but after forgetting a death anniversary, just once the entire year is filled with failures and nothing succeeds. Some enjoy good health, but from the day they moved and forgot to bring along the ancestral incense bowl, they were suddenly plagued by lingering illness that would not heal. Some families are harmonious, but after discarding the old altar without keeping ancestral items, the children suddenly become unruly and unfilial, and husband and wife lose their harmony. All of this is not superstition. It is the law of cause and effect. It is the break between past and present. So what should you do? Do not wait until misfortune strikes to rush back to your ancestors. If someone at home suffers long-term unexplained illness, light a stick of incense and ask the ancestors for protection. Do not beg for far-off things, ask only for health and a peaceful mind, and matters will naturally come into alignment. If the family is at odds and conflicts are constant, check the altar. Does it still have incense smoke? Is it placed in the proper position? Has it been left dusty for too long? So what should you do? Do not wait until misfortune strikes to rush back to your ancestors. If someone at home suffers long-term unexplained illness, light a stick of incense and ask the ancestors for protection. Do not beg for far-off things, ask only for health and a peaceful mind, and matters will naturally come into alignment. If the family is at odds and conflicts are constant, check the altar. Does it still have incense smoke? Is it placed in the proper position? Has it been left dusty for too long? With a little repair and cleaning, and a prayer with incense, you will see a difference. If you feel yourself declining work, stagnating, and spirit weakening, bow once before the altar. Sincerely acknowledge your faults and ask your ancestors to illumine the path ahead. Remember, a single stick of incense is not just smoke drifting away. It is a bridge between you and your ancestors, a reminder that no matter how far you go, do not forget where you belong. You have just heard about two important signs that your ancestors are actively protecting you. Do not stop here, for there are still other special signs that, if recognized, can strengthen your fortune, protect your blessings, and preserve your ancestors' guardianship for the whole family. But remember this, well-blessing is not immutable. If you do not cherish it, if you do not understand the trust your ancestors placed in you, your blessings will be consumed and your fortune will weaken, and then misfortune will come of its own accord and no one will be able to stop it. Keep following along. I will reveal a truth few expect. When a family truly has living ancestral protection, it never collapses. Though there are hard times, they still have a firm foundation, protective merit, and sustaining fortune. So how can you know whether your family is still holding this blessing? Sign 3. The family's fortune does not diminish over time. Despite ups and downs, it never collapses. There are families that, no matter how many storms they face, still stand firm, still keep their foundations, and never fall into utter ruin. Conversely, there are households that plunge downward and cannot recover after a single shock. Have you ever wondered why this difference exists? Some families have been through hardship and loss of position, yet after a time everything stabilizes, life flows on, and no one is left in destitution. Some families see their finances dip at times, yet the descendants still have stable jobs and opportunities to grow, and no one is driven to a dead end. Some households are not wealthy yet. They always keep their peace, do not suffer catastrophic disasters, and are not pushed to the bottom by ill fortune. If your family fits the cases above, congratulations, that is not random luck but a clear sign. Your ancestors are quietly protecting you, helping the household keep a firm foundation that does not easily collapse. Why are there families that, though they have ups and downs, never truly decline? Look closely at families you know. Some lost assets, yet after a time found a way to stabilize life. Some faced great upheavals, yet things returned to their proper course, and the children did not remain in hardship forever. Some are not very wealthy, yet their children still have good jobs and a clear path, and no one is driven to a dead end. This is the mark of a family with a foundation of merit. By contrast, some families lose everything after a single blow and cannot rise again. There are lineages that in just one generation fail to preserve any of the foundations their forebears left. Where does the difference lie in the clan's foundation of blessing? A family with deep merit may be in the red for a while, but it never loses everything. There is always a way forward. A family without blessing can be swept away by a single rough wave, with nothing left to cling to. Have you ever noticed households that were once quite well off, but after one crisis immediately declined, and the descendants could not recover? Families with blessing, even when they suffer losses, still have a base from which to climb again. But if a family has exhausted its merit, then no matter how hard they try, they cannot find a way out. Signs that your family still carries steady fortune include, even after hard times, it regains stability. The children still have direction. The household keeps its peace. If that describes you, congratulations. It is a sign of a lineage still protected by living ancestral virtue. But that is not all. A family's steady fortune is important, yet there is something even more special. A sign not every household possesses, one that shows the ancestors are not only protecting but actively transmitting vital energy to the descendants. There is another extraordinarily special sign. At least one member of the family has strong intuition with accurate premonitions of the future. This person is not merely another relative. They are the compass, the bridge between the descendants and the ancestors. Sign 4. Someone in the family has strong intuition with accurate feelings about the future. There are things in life that reason cannot fully explain, yet reality constantly proves they exist. Some people in a household have a peculiar sensitivity. They foresee what is about to happen, or they speak a single sentence and events unfold exactly as they said. If your family has such a person, do not dismiss it. This is not random, nor merely ordinary keenness. It is a clear sign that the ancestors are still watching closely, using this person to send important messages to the family. Here is a truth I must tell you. Not everyone has strong intuition, and not every household has someone with this capacity. If your family does, it is the mark of a clan with great merit, still under ancestral protection. Signs that your household includes someone with strong intuition. There is a person whose cautions time after time prove uncannily correct. Someone who feels uneasy and senses ill omen before a crisis. Someone who once dreamed of an ancestral message and events later unfolded just like the dream. Someone who does not study divination or fate, yet upon meeting a person can immediately sense whether they are trustworthy. If your family has such a person, congratulations. This is no coincidence. It is a clear sign of a family still blessed and protected by its ancestors. But remember, this grace is not guaranteed forever. If the descendants do not cherish it, if the intuitive person is belittled or dismissed as superstitious, the thread linking you to the ancestors will fray, and your blessings will wane. Think it through. Ancestors cannot appear in bodily form to guard their descendants directly, but they can send signals and omens. If your family includes a person with strong intuition, that is your ancestors reminding you, pointing out the way. If the family does not listen, if those intuitions are treated as idle words, the protection will fade, and when calamity comes, there will be no warning. There have been families who, not believing the signs, ultimately suffered irreparable loss. So what should you do to preserve this blessing? Remember this: a family with sacred ancestral protection has a solid foundation. But if the descendants do not guard and value the signs they are given, their blessings will diminish over time. If there is an intuitive person in the house, honor them. If they warn of something, consider it carefully. It may be a reminder from your ancestors. If they sense misfortune, be attentive and adjust your conduct to avoid harm. If they repeatedly speak of spiritual matters or unusual shifts in the home, if your family has such a person, that is the mark of a lineage with great blessings still under ancestral protection. Signs that your household includes someone with strong intuition. Again, there is a person whose admonitions repeatedly prove uncannily right. A person who senses dread before a crisis. Someone who dreams of an ancestor's message and events later occur as in the dream. A person who does not practice fortune telling, yet can instantly sense whether another is trustworthy. If your family has such a person, congratulations. This is not a coincidence. It clearly shows a family protected by living ancestral virtue. But remember this, well, not every family retains this grace forever. If the descendants fail to cherish it, this sign is not only protection, but proof that your family has accrued ample merit over many generations, and that the blessing is still being sustained. So what is the final sign? The sign that proves your family is not only protected, but also steadily accumulating even stronger fortune. Let us look now. Sign 5. The most important of all. At least one person in the family has a karmic affinity with the Buddha's teaching, keeps a heart inclined to goodness, and does good without seeking reward. If your family possesses all 4 previous signs, congratulations, your ancestors are closely watching over you. But if in addition your family has this fifth sign, then be assured yours is not only a lineage of great blessing, but a family with a durable foundation of goodness, with the roots of practice receiving the sustaining grace of the three jewels. This is the most important sign, the sign that not only protects your family's fortune, but steadily thickens it, strengthens it, and extends its blessings through the generations. It is when there is one person or many in the home who believes in cause and effect, trusts in the Buddha's teaching, lives with a compassionate heart, and does good not for fame or profit, and not in hope of reward. But think about it, if a family has had virtuous ancestors for generations, yet in this generation the descendants fail to cultivate themselves, do not do good, and do not believe in karma, will that merit truly endure? The person in the household who has an affinity with the dharma is the one who safeguards the family's blessing. Do you recognize someone like that in your home, the one who always urges the children to live uprightly, reminds everyone to keep righteousness and humaneness, who often recites sutras and the Buddha's name, believes deeply in cause and effect, and understands that good and evil are not judged only by the eyes, but formed by the mind, who is always helping others, doing good without seeking repayment, without boasting, without calculating gain and loss, who is compassionate, does not take life, gives generously, and plants wholesome causes for others. This is the strongest sign, a sign that your family has blessing, good roots, and the protection of the dharma. But remember, the one with good roots in the family does not carry blessing only for themselves. They keep the flame of blessing for the whole household. If no one in the family cultivates, and no one does good, then no matter how sacred the ancestors may be, the merit will gradually run dry. Conversely, if someone in the family practices, turns toward the Buddha, and accumulates merit, then blessings will continue not only in this life, but for many lives to come. As your family's fortune grows steadier, what should you do to maintain it? Remember this. Well, a family may pass through many ups and downs, but if even one person still believes in karma and knows how to live virtuously, that family will never truly decline. If someone in the house regularly recites sutras and the Buddha's name, cherish them, for they are not practicing only for themselves. They are creating merit for the whole family. If someone in the house often does good, be grateful to them, for the merit they sow becomes a strong wall that protects the descendants to come. If anyone in the family often speaks of cause and effect, do not dismiss it, for such reminders help the whole household avoid unwholesome karma and keep to the right path. I must tell you this, if your family has this sign, congratulations. Your ancestors are not only protecting you, the descendants themselves are continuing to build merit, making that protection ever more secure. But be cautious. If no one in the family believes in cause and effect, and no one knows how to do good, then even ancestors who wish to protect you cannot do anything. Karma overlooks no one. Blessing does not fall from the sky. It must be continually planted by each person. Keep doing good, keep living rightly. That is not only how to preserve ancestral blessing, but how to protect your family and the generations to come. This is the strongest sign, the sign that blessings are not only present but continuing to grow. Having ancestors' protection is good, but a family whose descendants cultivate themselves, practice meditation, and turn toward the Buddha has a far more solid guarantee for the future. Engrave this in your heart. Ancestors can bestow blessings, but if descendants do not continue to preserve them, even the greatest blessings will one day dissipate. Conversely, if later generations keep doing good and practicing, then even if earlier generations created unwholesome karma, the family still has a chance to transform it and escape misfortune. So if your family includes someone who does good and practices, congratulations. This is not only a sign of protection, it is the mark of a lineage with firm foundations and deep, wholesome roots. Ancestral protection is one part, but you are the one who decides where your family will go. If you do not continue to preserve, blessings will gradually run out. If you continue to build them, they will never fade. Now, have you recognized which of these signs your family has? If you have, cherished them. If not, begin building from today, for no one can change your fate but you yourself. If you have listened this far, congratulations. This is not by chance. It is a great affinity with the Dharma, with your ancestors, and with the law of cause and effect. Not everyone has the good fortune to understand these things, and if you are still here, still listening, it means your blessings remain, and your fortune is still being protected. Not everyone has the good fortune to understand these things, and if you are still here, still listening, it means your blessings remain and your fortune is still being protected.